as you all know, WI Bridge is our monthly publication that comes out in the Informer. And we, beginning this week, we will be having a segment from the Bridge every week. And so the last segment of Win TV. So right now I'm going to turn the show over to Claudia M. Watts, who is the editor of the Bridge. And we will be back with you after. Hey, Claudia, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. So, yeah, we're getting ready to turn it over to you. You can tell us who are we. Well, I'm just going to turn it over, and you take it from
Okay.
here. Okay, doke.
All right, great. All right. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Today we're going to be joined by, oh, sorry, Tenbeete Solomon, better known as TrapBob. And so we have a short clip for you, and then she's going to be on. Hi.
Hi, Claudia.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, so everyone, I'm super excited because about 2 years ago, I interviewed Bob for the Bridge, and since then, it seems like it's been nonstop for you. You know, you did the 29 Rooms, 20s, Missy Elliott, Pat, and so it doesn't seem like the pandemic has really slowed you down. We've been seeing photos of you doing murals in the street. So can you tell us a little bit about what you've got going on now?
Yeah, so lucky enough for me, I do so many mediums that even with the pandemic going on, I was able to just switch into being more digital. So I was doing a lot less work for sure, but I was excited that, at least in the midst of kind of the darkness we were dealing with the protests, I was able to go out and do my part as an artist because I know how important it is, as an artist, we're speaking for the people and we're leaving the history that's going to be remembered in the future. And one thing that's really been on my mind has been the erasure of Black history. And, that also brought me to thinking about how the art really creates the history, especially back when there weren't cameras, there was no internet, things like that. And that also helped to kind of erase the Black history because no one documented that. So it looks like from here, we had nothing happening. And, now that this is all coming back up and people are really thinking about it and talking about it, it's really been weighing on me. And I think about what I can do to, help and make sure that in the future from now, no one could say we weren't here. Nobody could say we didn't have a voice. So as much as the murals were a coping mechanism for me, it definitely made me feel a lot better to work on those. It's even more important that those messages are standing throughout time.
So that's actually really interesting that you say that. So me and the publisher of the Bridge were talking, and he was saying how some of his artist friends felt like they could no longer be artists who were Black, but were now overnight Black artists. With the understanding that being a Black artist, your work is rooted in that Black experience. Right. And it really struck me because I've been having that conversation with artist friends for years about this kind of struggle and or balance between whether they are, artists who are Black or Black artists. And so where do you feel like you fall? Where do you think that you identify on those?
So for me personally, I've always tried to stay away from labels, and I don't want to be categorized because of, my appearance or, certain features, because I think that they can put you in a box and narrow down your opportunities. And for me, it was never about, wanting to stay away from my identity, but I don't want to be limited and not be able to be in those spaces where people like me don't exist, So obviously I'm a Black woman and I make art that reflects my experience. So you can look at my work and see, who I am, but I don't always need that to be my definer, because then people decide where I belong, and my work really goes across the board, any subject, and it always is rooted in a message of equality. And naturally, activism, comes out in my work because I am a Black woman and I experience those things. And when I get angry, where I go to deal with those emotions is my work. So it's funny, saying you go from being an artist that's Black to a Black artist, because at a time like this, it is kind of like your call to action, and you have to decide, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna help? How do I approach this? But I don't believe in artists having to become a certain type of artist because of the, certain climate. So me, like I said, activism comes naturally. So I have no problem having these messages in my work. But there are people who are much more reserved or might not be as comfortable, and they might be an activist in their regular life, but maybe in their work, it's not as serious, or it's not as, there isn't as strong of a message, which is perfectly fine. But I think for the people who are, making work that surrounds this topic and these issues, it is a time to step up. And before now, even, my work has always reflected these problems, and I've always worked to create representation, and I only draw and paint Black people in all the projects I've ever done, even in projects where, once for PAPS, I had to do an animation where I had to go back in time and look at the different fashions from like the 1800s till now. And I was getting my references and I kept only seeing white people, because back in the day, like I said, without the cameras, they were just drawing the white fashions and the white people. And I looked at it and I was like, well, how am I about to do this? Because I don't draw white people, because that's just not my experience. And I was like, I'm going to create this Black history now, and I'm going to draw all these different decades with Black people, so that, I can try to close that gap, because it really is it's just unfair. So yeah, it's very important to me.
Awesome. All right, cool. So who would you say are some of the artists right now that are creating work that has, inspired or helped further kind of fuel or push you to be creative and to seek, what you believe through your work?
Well, the first artist that really made me even understand how art can be included in activism was Ai Weiwei. And he's a Chinese artist, he's huge, and he's so inspiring, and his story and what he went through for his art is just so beautiful to me. And that's how passionate I am about art. So to see that, it really kind of kickstarted my mentality of how I can use my work in activism and still be able to use it as a source of joy for people. I want people to also be able to take a break and not only live in the anger, because it's just not healthy for us, So he really kicked that off. And then now, I mean, the amount of Black artists that are existing now and really getting opportunities is just amazing. Like when I started out, there wasn't even anything really for me to look up to. And I just kind of maneuvered and just tried to figure it out. But now there's there's so many artists. There's Blue the Great, who's based in Los Angeles. He does kind of mummy designs, and he does these really cool American flags where it's in black and white, or he inverts the design in a way and it's all ripped up. And I just love the way that we can all take our style and our subject matter and still bring in our activism messages to the community without it being so blatant, without telling people how to feel. And that is why I think art is so important. Yeah, and even with politics, any type of real issues where I have felt that creatives are alienated, I really want to find a way for us to come together, because we're the people who need to be voting, who need to be concerned about these things. And I guess in the past it was not cool, or people just didn't feel comfortable with it. And I want to, again, bridge that gap and bring everybody into this mentality, because it really is going to take all of us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what would you say, I guess, is coming down the pipeline for you? What can we expect to see in the next few months?
So I'm actually starting another mural at Hotel Zena, which hasn't opened up yet, but they're opening in the fall. And that should be up after next week. Nice. And what else am I doing? I'm doing a lot of freelance projects in my own time, and trying to get prepared to create a new body of work, specifically paintings, and also trying to figure out, where is the where's everything going with the virus? Things are opening up, but I don't necessarily think that they should be. And so it's
Right.
hard to gauge, when is it actually safe? When do we actually know what's going on? And when can we get back to enjoying the events and all the creatives in the area? Because that's something that has been hard for me the most, like clubs, parties, and bars and stuff. Like, I don't really need them to open, but I miss being able to go connect with the community, go to art shows, go to concerts, things where we just get to feed off each other's energy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. We love you. We're big fans. We're going to have to talk about maybe you doing a takeover for us one day, we'd love to have some guest illustrations. So I'm going to throw that out there.
Oh, I love it.
And, have a great long weekend.
Thank you. You too, girl.